Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Xbox Casuals, the Xbox podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Corey Deering, and alongside me, as always, is my co-host, whose handheld was made by another company, Josh Finney.
Oh boy.
Hi, Josh.
Oh boy. Hi, Corey.
How are you, Josh?
Exhausted.
Do you think Microsoft would get away with at least we didn't trade Luca?
No, I don't think so. Well, actually, they might. They're not a Dallas-based company saying this. That is using that to cover up corporate greed. So They might get away with it. I don't know.
Oh,
but
boy.
Man, talk about just like a super tone-deaf thing, and that's just, it's a never-ending pile of shit.
It's something. It's something, Josh.
It's not great.
It's all right. The Browns are slowly turning into the Denver Broncos / Seattle Seahawks, but not in a good way.
So bad.
Oh,
Ow,
man.
Fuck.
I can already hear Jerry Jeudy whining that Russell Wilson is his quarterback.
I can too, which is very funny to me as somebody who does not like Jerry Jeudy.
It's better than Deshaun Watson. It's my new motto in life. But enough about sports, Josh. How's your week going? You doing all right?
Yeah, it's been a long week.
It has been a long week. You are correct. You are more than correct. So, but have you been playing video games?
I have been. I have been playing a ton of Monster Hunter Wilds this week, which is not the phrase I thought I was going to say on tonight's show. I genuinely thought that I was going to come in and talk about Avowed, and I have played so much Monster Hunter in the last week and a half.
Yeah, it seems to be the story of the month.
I think
the
the thing that makes Wild so cool, I think, is it's a perfect jumping on point if you have never gotten into Monster Hunter before, which, to be fair, I think your only other points to really jump on were World, Rise, or one of the 3DS games. And the 3DS games weren't super popular in the West. World was really where it emerged in the West and stopped being a thing that primarily Eastern gamers were playing.
Mm-hmm.
It was very niche before that, obviously. World was a success that I don't even think Capcom expected. Hence why they supported it for so many years. Iceborne and all sorts of other free updates that weren't paid. Rise was originally a Switch exclusive. Took off so much they had to bring it to PlayStation and Xbox. It was a Game Pass title for a long time.
Yeah, I think it's still there, isn't it?
I'm not sure, actually. I need to look and see. Monster Hunter Stories, as a result, got pretty popular. Something that we never would have said before that.
Yeah.
And now here you are at Wilds, which sold 8 million copies in 3 days. That is I need everyone to understand how rare that is for a franchise that is not Grand Theft Auto or Call of Duty to be doing.
Would you say that it's wild?
I would say it's wild, absolutely. It's crazy. I think World sold something like 20 million units total in its lifetime, and Wilds has already done basically half that in its first 3 days. When we get the full March charts from Circana in April, I'm so curious to see how much it'll have sold. It's obviously eclipsed 10 million at this point.
Oh, I might put it closer to 12, honestly. Sounds feasible.
I think it also helps that this game has a legit story mode also. There's an actual plot line. I know there was a plot line in World, but named characters, really good voice acting. I really enjoy how the hunts are woven into the storyline of the game too, and very much how. And I want to be clear, I have not finished the storyline. The storyline here is a little interesting. So you do the first 3 acts, and then you roll credits and you're like, huh, that was the story. And then you realize apparently that's when the second half of the story starts, and it is like that's the end game grind that you start.
Hmm.
Like, you haven't unlocked all the monsters you can hunt yet, you haven't unlocked all the big hunts, and you start unlocking that more and more as you go through. So I've probably put about 15 to 18 hours into this game so far, and the last thing I did was hit the credits. So I feel like I did not like go and farm a lot of stuff either. I was taking my time with this. I was doing side quests. I really, really like how much time I've put into this. Like, don't believe the people on the internet who are like, I spent like 100 hours in this game. There's just nothing to do. Like, yeah, you spent 100 hours in the first 2 weeks in the game. Like, there isn't going to be anything for you at that point.
Yeah, that's my favorite. That's my favorite. It's the same thing that we kind of make fun of Destiny for, where people spend like,
Yeah.
like content creators spend like 200 hours the first week and a half in the game or whatever, and they're like, there's nothing to do. It's like, well, yeah, you just played it all in like one go.
Uh, quick, some quick notes. Monster Hunter World had sold 23 million copies by January 2024.
It's quite a bit.
That is quite a bit. Shortly after the Windows release of Iceborne in January 2020, Capcom said that sales of World had exceeded 15 million. So between that and the announcement of Monster Hunter Wilds, essentially, it moved another like 8 million copies, which is wild to me.
It's a lot. It's
With a
quite
lot of
the
those coming during COVID, by the way.
yeah.
Um, it had it hit 20 million by October 2021, and Iceborne had really good attachment rate. 8.5 million units of Iceborne sold by September 2021. So
That's great.
Monster Hunter is it is wild. I hate that I keep saying this. It's wild how great the reception has been to this franchise over the last decade or so. It has
Yeah.
really gone from being this franchise that, like, oh, we hear about it in passing. I used to get Monster Hunter and Monster Rancher confused a lot, to be honest. It's gone from one of those to now it's one of the premier franchises for Capcom. I would say for Capcom, it's probably Monster Hunter, Resident Evil, and I actually don't know what's up in there with them. Devil May Cry, I guess.
I guess. I mean, it's probably not Mega Man, right? I mean,
Street Fighter.
yeah.
I completely forgot Street Fighter. I cannot believe I forgot Street Fighter. That's disgusting. Yeah, Street Fighter. So it's become one of the big three for Capcom as far as I'm concerned. Mega Man's best days are long past, and it's nice because for a while there, Resident Evil was just kind of holding it down. Street Fighter, we get like one of those a generation, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But man, this has been Monster Hunter has just, and it's exceeded the popularity of the most recent entries of those franchises, by the way.
Yeah.
I think a lot of that is maybe driven by how much people enjoy games like Elden Ring and Dark Souls, like Soulsborne games. I think like things where you have to think about how to approach an enemy. You can't
Yeah.
just go in and start wailing. And I think that's part of why like World and Wilds have been so successful. Also, is they encourage you to go play with friends.
Mm-hmm.
The online system is totally ass. Like, you would think that Nintendo designed it with how bad it is, but it is like really, really good when you finally get into an instance with your friends. It is so rewarding and so fun.
Why is it so bad?
Dude, you have to go through all these sub menus to find it, and then on top of that, you have to send a party invite, and then you have to send an environmental invite to even be in the same world as them for free
Mm,
roam.
that seems.
But if you're in environmental link, you can't pick up and do a story quest. You have to actually, you can only do that via party link, and that's really iffy. Like, that's only worked for us, I think, maybe one time out of the 5 or 6 we've attempted it. It's very obnoxious.
Yeah, sounds like it. Um, that's weird, but I don't know. It seems like people are at least figuring it out. So I don't know.
Yeah,
It's weird, but
it's weird, but man, I'm really, 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 really enjoying this.
Yeah, I've been really thinking about getting it. I haven't. Man, I don't know if I should bite the bullet or not. I want to.
I would say unless you plan on putting significant time into this game, you have friends that you want to play this with, etc., do not drop $70 on this game. It is okay to miss it in the moment. I probably would have waited for a sale, frankly, because I was unsure if I was going to like it. I did not like World. I want to be super clear on that. I tried 3 separate times to get in the World, and I did not think World was fun. I got hooked on this.
Hmm.
I think I spent my partner was gone like all day Saturday or Sunday, I think. I spent all day playing Monster Hunter without realizing it.
Hmm.
I just like hung out on on my couch, and before I knew it, I was like, "Oh shit, I've been playing for like 7 hours." I was
Hmm.
just blowing through. I blew through like all of Act Two just sitting there. It's great. Like it really is a game that will like suck the time away from you. But again, a lot of this was spent playing with friends. I did some solo hunts in there. The only reason I grabbed it when I did was because I knew I had friends who were getting it right away, who were going to be playing it hard, and they're going to put it aside here in a little while and wait for the next major update, wait for some of the free hunts to be put in that have been promised post launch. We know there's going to be DLCs because we have South of Midnight, we have Assassin's Creed Shadows, we have Doom the Dark Ages, we have Expedition 33. Like there's
Hmm.
so much coming in the next 60 days
Right.
that we're going to be okay putting this aside for a little bit because we got in and we've put, I've only put in like 18 hours. They've put in like 30 plus already.
Yeah.
Um, so
Plus a new console, Josh. Don't forget that.
oh my god, plus a new console. God knows when that's releasing. I love how the most plentiful console ever, as they're saying it for a launch, is also going to come at like the worst economy ever to launch a console in. But that's another conversation for another day.
At least it's not during a worldwide pandemic when you can't even go outside.
We're getting real close to it though. Man, I have
uh,
so many opinions on all the bullshit happening.
what, you don't think Canada would make a good 51st state, Josh?
No, I think it's fucking asinine that we even have to say that it's asinine. I
Uh,
have I have a lot of thoughts that I just don't want to express tonight.
yeah.
If you listen to this show, you know exactly where we stand. Back to Monster Hunter. It is a really fun game. As someone who never really got into it, I love how many different types of weapons there are. You can carry 2 weapons anytime. You can change your weapons on the back of your secret. I'm Man, I really, really, really love this game. I really love this game. It is just such a good time. I think part of why I really like it is the wound system on the monsters now. You can use those to launch a heavy attack on, latch on, and destroy the wounds, and that like will visibly show damage to the monster. Like they will visibly be taking more and more damage.
Hmm.
That's kind of like your health bar indicator in a lot of ways. Like when you start seeing those, like, oh, you want to be destroying those like crazy. It also gives you materials from the monster. It's just good to be destroying the wounds when you see them. I've really been enjoying it. I've been running dual blades, which is like one of the easier ones to use.
Hmm.
I like that. I like the heavy blowgun. That's been fun. Um, it's good. It's a really 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 fun game. I don't really know what else to say. Like I like the characters in it. Gemma and Alma, like those characters a lot. Not the biggest fan of Nata, the kid who's part of the storyline. I think it's really hard to write child characters that are voice acted, to be
Hmm.
honest.
Hmm.
I always think that's hard, and I don't think it's necessarily because of the writing. I think it's just like, oh, we want mature stories and this and that. Like, he's a fucking 11-year-old kid, man. Like,
Right.
what do you expect? He's acting more mature than an 11-year-old would in a lot of ways, I think. But also, like, he shows us a different path, like having empathy for monsters.
Hmm.
I think that's a really, really fascinating approach for this to take, especially in a world so devoid of empathy these days. I think it's really, really important that we can see games that do that.
Yeah, and like I think that's probably some of the passive connection to Monster Hunter, the Monster Hunter stories, right?
Yeah,
Because that's kind of like that game's whole deal, right? So
right. That's kind of where I take it from. It's kind of like it's the pinnacle of like what Monster Hunter can be, but also I understand the people who think that this game is too easy compared to something like World or Rise. I get it.
Mhm.
But this is also it's kind of like we talked about with Destiny, right? This is how you get new people interested in your game.
Mhm.
So I think World was a great first step. This takes that and takes another big step. I think the world is awesome. It being open world is fantastic. I love this.
Yeah, I mean, I think my opinion on games these days is like if you have a game with like a huge end game like Monster Hunter
Hmm.
or Destiny or whatever, I think you have to make the base game as accessible as possible and then the challenge comes in the end game. If you're not going to have a difficulty system or like I think that's just how these games are going to go. And I'm not saying like make it easy. I'm just saying like the super hard challenging stuff comes in the end game. And I
Hmm.
think that's what Monster Hunter is doing.
You definitely start getting to some of those like harder challenges when you get into Act 3, I think.
Yeah,
And
sure.
it's
Yeah.
it's interesting because it bounced back and forth between being like, "Oh my god, this fight is like really hard to. Oh my god, this is really easy."
Mhm.
In acts 2 and 3, and I think that's because like you constantly need to be upgrading your gear. Like this game is very clearly designed for you to beat a major monster and then go grind it out to get that gear to like level up a little bit or like learn how to mix and match your gear appropriately.
Mhm.
And that's part of what I like. Also, like upgrading your weapons is a huge deal. I this is a really really deep game for people who don't play Monster Hunter. This is a really deep game, and I like that. It's also just like I'm used to doing this from things like Destiny and playing like MMOs in the past. This is nothing
Mhm.
new.
Yeah.
It has gotten to a point where I have to make decisions about okay, how much Monster Hunter am I actually going to play? I will probably play enough to see the end of the actual storyline, which I think
Mhm.
there's acts 4, 5, and 6 to play out. I will probably play to the end of that and then be done until they drop a DLC
Yeah.
because I just don't have time to keep up with something. And that keeps me wanting to come back too.
Right.
I feel like if I put 45, 50 hours into this game, I can walk away really satisfied with how much I paid for it. I will walk away satisfied paying 70 for it. I don't feel like I've gotten my money's worth quite yet, but that's because I know how big the end game is, and I've been
Mhm.
told that when I start getting into the end game, I'm going to get sucked in. Like this is when you want to start experimenting with more weapons and this and that. Like I'm hunter rank 9, 8 or 9, I think. I had friends who were already like 42 a week and a half after launch because all they did was grind this.
Mhm.
I just don't understand how you I don't understand how you get that high. That's so I'll probably never get to that in this game, and that's okay. I'm just having fun playing it right now. Even if I'm playing solo and like jumping into other people's SOS flares, that's become one of my favorite things is if I need to go grind materials for something, I jump into somebody else's SOS flare.
Mhm.
And I just have my game set up to where it auto launches the SOS flare because I the game is more fun for me if I'm playing with people, even if they're not in my party. Just people jumping in, it feels like organically, like oh, hunters ran across you in the wild or something. Is like how I choose to imagine it in my head canon.
Mhm.
So it's good. I'm really enjoying Monster Hunter. If you've been on the fence, I would recommend you watch a stream or you watch a video or something. Specifically, look for people who are playing Monster Hunter for the first time though. Like
Mhm.
first time Monster Hunter, new players, things like that. If you've never played, if you watch people who have played a lot of Monster Hunter, it's going to be daunting.
Yeah.
That's how I felt.
Yeah. My
And
biggest
talking to Laurent did not help.
no, it never does. uh or it massively does. I don't know, depending on which way you look at it.
His
Um
passion is part of what sold me on it, but
mhm.
uh he knows the ins and outs and everything else, and I was just like, yeah, no,
I
I
mean, he
I can't
plays
do this. This
Monster
is this is too much for this is like somebody trying to talk to me about Destiny, I feel.
Yeah, I was gonna say he plays Monster Hunter and knows Monster Hunter the way that you know Destiny, right? So it's the one thing I didn't care for in the beta. I really enjoyed playing it. I really enjoyed the world and the characters. And by the way, shout out to Capcom for having like probably the best character creator of all
Oh
time.
my god, it's incredible. It's incredible.
Uh, but I wish I could have remapped the controls, and they weren't. That was not available in the beta.
The controls weren't too bad for me. What I really need, I've been spoiled by transmog in so many MMOs. I need transmog in this game.
Yeah,
I need transmog, and I
I
need way better online systems. I'm gonna be honest. If I had those two things, this game would be like pretty damn high for me. I've probably got it at like an 8.5, 8.7 maybe right now.
Hmm.
The further I get, as I get into the end game, I'll probably bump that score up a bit. This is the first for me. This is the first real game of the year contender.
Hmm.
I don't know if it'll stay there for me, and I want to be clear. I'm enjoying Avowed. I put Avowed down to play Monster Hunter as much as I have,
Hmm.
which is crazy. I am Avowed's been out for a month, and I've done so little in that game right now. I really need to get back to it, but between this and an awesome Destiny season that's happening, it's been really hard for me to find time to go back to it. Um, we did get asked a question by a viewer, by Jiggly Panda, if we were going to talk about Split Fiction tonight. And I want to address Split Fiction really fast. This is a game that I have not personally gotten yet, and I probably will not until it's on sale,
Hmm.
simply because money.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys know this. Everything is fucking expensive right now, and pretty much me buying like one game a month is about what I can do right now. And if it's not on Game Pass, I really hate to say this, it doesn't become as big of a priority for me because it's not in my budget as much.
Yeah.
So
For
I do
me,
plan on playing Split Fiction, but it probably won't be until this summer.
yeah. I mean, for me right now, it's like the game's got to be on sale, or I have to be like super interested in it because
Hmm.
for those who don't know, I do a Nintendo podcast, and there's spoilers, there's a new Nintendo console coming out, and
Oh my god, it's gonna be a nightmare.
Nintendo won't return my calls to get one for free. So I'm trying to save up my money to get that instead, which I have because I haven't purchased any real games this year, right? Except for oh god, Donkey Kong, I guess, which probably was a bad decision, but whatever. I don't want to say bad decision. It's a good game. I just, you know, played it already twice on other
Hmm.
platforms. So,
That's my, and that brings up just a whole nother issue. I would rather buy a new game than something I've played before at this point.
mhm.
Which is why I'm so incredible. We're going to talk about two remasters slash remakes coming that I'm really excited are going to go straight into Game Pass because I would probably have bought both of these games, but that frees up money in my budget to buy new games instead.
Mhm.
So with a new Nintendo console coming this year too, I'm also like looking at that because that means Metroid Prime 4, that means a new 3D Mario, that means a new Mario Kart, like those three games at minimum, right? So
Yeah, Nintendo probably get that $70 bump this gen, right?
oh,
So,
Nintendo's 100% taking that $70 bump. You kidding me? They test ran it with Tears of the Kingdom and look how phenomenally that sold. Like they're gonna do it.
mhm.
You are out of your fucking mind if you think that Mario Kart 9 is not going to be priced at the highest price point they possibly can put it at. Because that game is going to sell no matter what. It's going to sell in their 50 million copies.
Yeah.
So, and keep in mind, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe was a re-release.
Yeah, I'm aware.
So, like, no, I'm not saying you. I'm saying for
I
the
know.
folks at home, like that has one of the best adoption rates of any game outside of like the original Halo trilogy.
Yeah,
It's disgusting.
it's kind of ridiculous how many copies that game sold.
Corey, are you playing anything currently?
Uh Nothing on Xbox really. I'm actually finishing up Fire Emblem,
Okay.
which has been actually really fun and pardon the pun, but kind of engaging in a different way than I have played games in a while.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm near the end. I've I think I've played more Fire Emblem than I played games all of last year, aside from Destiny. Like I've put 75 hours into the game already, and
Mm-hmm.
there's 24 chapters, and I'm on chapter 23, so I'm almost done. But it's fun. If you like strategy RPGs and you have a Switch, I do recommend it. Um, I took a different approach. I think I said this already, but I took a different approach than I did with Three Houses this time around because obviously Three Houses is like very relationship oriented and very like grow your bonds with your characters and your relationships and stuff, which this game has too, but it's more of a hardcore strategy RPG than a kind of like a relationship
Hmm.
building with strategy RPG in it, right? So uh, it's super fun. If you played any of the 3DS ones, I would compare it more to Conquest than Three Houses or like anything pre 3DS.
God, Three Houses was so
Yeah, it was really good. Uh,
good.
so, but that's
Three Houses is absolutely one of my favorite games ever. So,
yeah. Oh, Josh, also, my son and I last weekend beat the Power Rangers game.
Rita's Revenge, is that what it is?
Rita's Rewind, I think is what it's
Rita's
called. Yeah.
Rita's Rewind. Got it.
Yeah. Let me tell you about this game, Josh. It's not very good. Um,
That
it's
doesn't surprise me.
it's so the side scrolling beat 'em up stuff is fine. It's serviceable. It plays like you would think it would, but like they have the auto running Zord shooting levels, which are not very good. They have the auto scrolling like think think Rad Racer on NES or like some sort of like Genesis Super Nintendo era motorcycle game. Not those types of levels, which are not very good. And then the first person Megazord levels are just I wanted to like throw my controller at the TV.
Jesus.
Uh, it's not very good. Um, I would say it's probably like a 6.5. It's fine. But if you are a Power Rangers fan, you may like it. But the Turtles game, Shredder's Revenge, was far superior in so many ways. So that's kind of it. So, but
Uh,
Josh, we have a bunch of Xbox stuff to talk
we
about.
do have a bunch of Xbox stuff. Let's go ahead and start with the big one this week. Um, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4 are coming to Xbox. I'm kidding. That is something, but that's not
Game
that's
Pass
not our
too.
big story this week. Uh oh boy, we have a walloper of a story. We just talked about the greatness that is the Switch 2 on the way, but we have to start with a report out of Windows Central that we got this week from Jez Corden. Project Kennen gaming handheld. Uh oh boy.
Yeah, big old boy.
Big oh boy. I don't love this. I should make really clear right off the bat. This is basically a testing point for Microsoft. This is not an actual Xbox device, but it will be the closest we've gotten to an Xbox handheld so far. The initial reporting from Windows Central had us all thinking this was actually an Xbox handheld. Tom Warren had to rush out to say, no, it's not. This is an Asus developed device, as far as he could figure out. So the reporting from Jez Corden says, for those who are hoping Kennen would play Xbox games, I'm sorry to report this is a tired and true Windows PC, meaning you cannot bring most of your Xbox library to the device. Only games falling under Xbox Play Anywhere will work as a single purchase entity across Xbox One, Series XS, and Kennen, like the ROG Ally and Legion Go. Xbox Cloud Gaming will also extend some of the Xbox only games you can potentially play. You will be able to run things like Steam, BattleNet, GOG, Riot, Hoyoverse, Epic, etc. Um, Asus and Microsoft have not placed a hard price point on Kennen just yet. The target price range sources indicate that it won't be as cheap as the base model Steam Deck, but it won't be as expensive as the Legion Go RRP. The base price model price range will be between $499 and $599. Take that with a huge grain of salt, given the state of the fucking trade war going on right now. There will also be 2 SKUs on offer, but we don't know what the differences are yet.
Great, another 2 SKU device.
Another 2 SKU device. So supposedly it's going to be revealed as soon as this summer and launch this fall. Um, I think The Verge did way better reporting here. I'm going to be completely frank with you. Um, that's usually how it goes. I think when it comes to like Windows devices and reporting, I tend to trust Tom Warren is like maybe like an S tier source for me on that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's because he's like exclusively covered Microsoft for like 10 years now or something.
Yeah.
Um, so in his article over on The Verge, this is where I got really excited. I'm not gonna lie. This is where I don't give a fuck about Kennen. Kennen is not interesting to me. But this is the interesting part, and then I've got one other thing that's just like kind of a nugget that got lost in all this. Sources familiar with Microsoft's plans tell me the company's Xbox platform plans for this year and beyond are centered on one big goal: the unification of Windows and Xbox. Thank you fucking God. Thank you God.
We kind of I feel like you and I have
We've
been
heard
talking
this
about forever.
repeatedly, but hearing it when it's not a rumor and it's actual reporting makes me feel better. We knew that was the goal. That's what Jason Ronald's team has been working on.
Hmm.
Him and the Surface team have been working on that, supposedly. They're working
Yeah.
on the hardware and completely revamping how Windows is going to work on portable gaming devices. The
Hmm.
biggest news here, I think, is they're trying to unify those two stores,
Yeah.
which leads to the digital concerns that you and I have had about our digital libraries carrying forward into these PC centric devices. That would
Well,
mean that anything purchasable in the Xbox store now theoretically is available going forward.
yeah, I think my bigger concern is what happens to everything pre Xbox One.
Well, I'm glad you said that because I want to read some more of what's here. Some of this platform work is codenamed Project Bayside, part of an Xbox UX framework that is designed to ensure there is a common Xbox UI across multiple devices to combine Windows and Xbox. Kennen and Bayside represent some of the work that Jason Ronald has been hinting at, opening up the benefits of Xbox to the broader ecosystem. They are also working on combining Windows and Xbox in a way where there's a single store of games and an easier path for game developers to build titles that span across handhelds, consoles, and PC gaming rigs. This isn't particularly new. Um, and while we wait to see if the community can come up with a full solution to run Xbox games on Windows, it looks like Microsoft is working on something similar. Sarah Bond created a new team focused on game preservation and forward compatibility in 2024, which suggests Microsoft is working through licensing hurdles to somehow preserve existing Xbox digital libraries for this universal Xbox PC library. It's reasonable to assume these Xbox platform changes will shape the future of Xbox consoles as well. I wrote last month, I don't think Microsoft is embarking on such a big project without these handheld focused platform changes being the foundation for whatever Xbox hardware is next. So, if this works, that is huge.
Hmm.
That is maybe the most consequential thing we've ever seen for digital game preservation since they brought original Xbox games to the Series X.
Hmm.
This is the biggest, well, not even Series X. That was Xbox
It's
One thing.
one. Yeah.
This is the biggest thing for preservation since then, in my opinion, because this isn't controlling it like Nintendo does. This isn't severely limiting what you can do like Sony has up until the last couple of years. This is, I can't believe I'm saying these words, Microsoft somehow cares the most about game preservation.
I know.
And they're
I mean,
not nickel and diming you to do it either.
yeah. I mean, I feel like we've talked about that before too. Is like Microsoft has like the least incentive to do it, yet they're the only ones doing it kind of correctly.
Sure.
um, I mean, that's always been
So
my opinion at least.
my belief would be that this is kind of the summation of everything we've heard from it. This is really going to be Windows with the Xbox store. I think Microsoft has to push for that and get the licensing hurdles worked out to
Hmm.
make it to where you can play those games. If they do that, they don't give a shit if you buy games elsewhere at that point. You are
Hmm.
still buying their device to run things on. Your library is going to be on if you decide to go to PC, it's going to be on PC. If you're on a handheld, it's going to be there. If you still want a home console like I do, it's going to be there.
Hmm.
Like, their goal is for your games to follow you everywhere. They have stated this repeatedly for like 8, 9 years now, I feel.
Hmm.
So ever since Play Anywhere became a big thing and we started seeing Forza come to the Windows Store, et cetera, making your saves work across Steam, BattleNet, Xbox, PC, Windows Store, etc., is the next step. I think that's one of the steps along the path to this. We've seen it with Avowed. I believe it's going to happen with Tony Hawk and with Doom as well.
Hmm.
Don't quote me on Doom, but I do believe I read that about Tony Hawk. So this is huge. It may not seem huge on the surface. People may be like, oh, whatever. Like, for those of us who care about our digital libraries and we've like been clutching them like pearls for a while now, we
Hmm.
want that vindication. I
Yeah.
think that also means, hey, maybe people are more likely to want to pick up the Xbox handheld versus like Sony handheld because hey, my shit follows me everywhere.
Yeah.
Now, That being said, Sony is 100% going to launch a PlayStation game client for PC at some point. They are 100% going to have a handheld in the next 3 to 4 years.
Hmm.
That is going to be a thing. The last tidbit we have out of all of this is that the next console is slated for 2027 officially.
Hmm.
Um, we had rumor. There was a rumor that came out about a week and a half ago. This is the disadvantage of doing shows every 2 weeks. That from a very well-known Call of Duty leaker that they are currently planning the Infinity Ward game for 2026 to run on next gen hardware. Plans can always change. We're 18 months out from a theoretical launch in 2026 if that were to happen.
Hmm.
We heard this week that the hard or this week slash last week that the hardware has had final approval from Satya Nadella already. They're ready. They're ready. Like the final specs have been approved already. To me, that says two things. One, they know exactly what Steam is planning, and they know exactly what Nintendo is planning in terms of specs. They know what they
Yeah.
have to meet.
Well,
I
I think they know what Nintendo has because they're making games for it.
I
Predict,
mean, yes, but like dev kits can
theoretically.
always be a little bit funkier too. Like we've heard that like Xbox and Sony in the past haven't sent out like true dev kits until after the console was in people's hands.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's been a very real thing. Like I know that was a big hang up that Sony did not want dev kits in the hands of Xbox when it came to Minecraft for PS4. That's why they
Hmm.
had to go to 4J.
Hmm.
So just keeping all that in mind, I think we're in a similar situation. They probably have the Nintendo ones. They have a very close relationship with Nintendo, but also you have to remember that Sony, I think, has to share these specs too, because like Activision is the biggest publisher on their platform.
Hmm.
Microsoft is actually the biggest publisher on PlayStation now at this point
Hmm.
because they own Call of Duty.
Yeah.
Purely because they own Call of Duty.
Hmm.
So Call of Duty and Minecraft. But this is kind of fascinating. So 2027 would put some things into perspective. I think we can kind of guess where next year's lineup goes and then what gets saved for a potential 27 lineup. The thing is, with the Switch having launched in early March 2017 to critical acclaim, and it sold out everywhere, right?
Hmm.
At a time when people were not sure if a Nintendo console was going to be able to do that ever again. You have the Switch 2, which is going to launch presumably in May or June. And Bloomberg went on record this afternoon saying they have talked to multiple sources, they've talked to multiple analysts who have connections deep inside Nintendo of Japan, and said Nintendo has enough units ready to go that this is going to be the biggest console launch in the history of the industry. I fully believe that.
Yeah, I do too.
I fully believe that. I don't There's no room for them not to do that at this point.
Hmm.
They kind of have to. I don't think Nintendo's not like in a do or die like they were with the original Switch.
Hmm.
It's gonna for a lot of us, it's still gonna come down to, okay, what does it launch with? I've talked to two friends who are like, they love Nintendo, and they've both said unless there is something other than Mario Kart at launch, I do not care.
Hmm.
I will not buy this until later in the year. I would only be getting it so I don't have to fight the holiday crowds eventually.
Yeah.
And also before things like go skyrocketing in cost. And with the news today that it's probably targeting a $400 or more price point, that tells me this has to have Series S specs in it.
Yeah.
So I think that Microsoft obviously will meet or exceed that.
Hmm.
But I like the idea that, gaming is kind of being reined in a little bit. Like if you want the ultra powerful, uncapped frame rates, best resolution, etc., you're gonna have to build a rig that can handle that.
Yeah.
Home consoles are going to get out of hand real fast otherwise. It's
Yeah.
just not possible to keep up with that. Home consoles are supposed to be they're basically becoming the entry point now. We were talking about this with Jeff Gardner last
Hmm.
year, right? Like consoles have kind of become the entry point, and these handhelds I think are an even better solution,
Hmm.
especially in societies that are not America where people commute every day.
Hmm. Yeah.
Like this thing is going to kill overseas.
Oh yeah,
I've seen
for
how,
sure.
we've all seen how for years how popular the 3DS was in Japan, how popular the PSP was over there. The Switch has done incredible numbers. Steam Deck hasn't really been adopted as much over there, I feel, because there's not as much of an emphasis on PC gaming.
Hmm.
From what I know, at least of the Japanese market, like in Korea, like there is in Japan and Korea, but you go to cafes to play a lot of those games, right?
Yeah.
You're not probably not building a maxed out rig at home.
Yeah.
Also, like your home isn't designed to have that space. So
Right.
I think something like that is how you get into that. That's why like cloud gaming was getting such a big push over there, and they were saying like that's where our best numbers are is in Japan and Korea. Is where our best numbers with Xbox cloud gaming are.
Hmm.
So because you can just pull up your smartphone and pull out a controller or slap slap a backbone on it, slap a Razer. What is it? The Razer Kashi, I think. You can slap one of those on there. Like, but if you're going to launch in 2027, there's nothing that says you have to wait till the holidays.
Right.
I would almost say like if there were if Call of Duty really is being developed with the next generation SKU in mind, and we have heard that supposedly that Call of Duty is going to leave behind Xbox One and PS4 finally. It only took 7 years to get there. But basically that seems to be Microsoft's attitude is no, we're not coddling you anymore. Buy one of the consoles that's been out for like 6 years at this point. As
Yeah.
of this fall, it'll been 5 years. If you haven't upgraded to this point, I have zero sympathy for you. I had zero sympathy 2 years ago.
I can't believe like I mean,
There's been almost nothing that has required you to get a new console though, and I think a lot of that is due to COVID. COVID changed a lot of priorities for games that were in development.
yeah. Plus, I think the budgets that these companies have for these games also require them to sell them on more
Yep,
units that just aren't out there.
we have heard about that from from the Sony from the Sony camp. We've heard about that.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah. So yeah, man, it's
but 2027, I don't know where you go. So if you launch in 2027, I would assume it's probably early Q2 if you launch it in 27.
yeah. I mean,
If you're developing a Call of Duty with that in mind, that would still land it within the range where people are still buying that game.
yeah,
And but it's before the next Call of Duty gets revealed.
yeah. I mean, it could even be. My assumption would be if you're gonna launch it not in the holiday season, it's gonna be March because you want to
Yeah.
beat that fiscal quarter, right? Like,
That would be my I guess that would be my guess too. Like either very end of Q1 or very early Q2. I think
yeah,
March, April kind of has to be it.
yeah,
And we know Microsoft loves to juice those numbers. So like that's the funny thing to me is like Forza Horizon 5 is going to require you to have an Xbox account,
hmm,
which they've done this before with Sea of Thieves and whatnot, but that helps them juice those numbers for monthly active users because we know they do it with Minecraft.
yeah,
So like Minecraft on Switch especially, I know requires it. So that's interesting to me. I think this opens up a lot of possibilities and you start wondering what does the next 18 months of software look like because I'm not totally convinced that this is not a holiday 26 console. Plans can change. I mean, if the hardware has been approved this far out, it kind of depends on what the manufacturing looks like and what this whole trade war looks like. But it is not inconceivable that in 20 months we're holding the real next generation Xbox. But I think that is a tight timeline to be on. The fact they've approved the specs right now makes me very happy for that.
hmm,
And I think that gives them a little bit more flexibility. We've said for a long time that you're gonna and also it's the 25th anniversary of Xbox. It kind of lines up perfectly.
yeah,
It would be the 25th anniversary of Xbox, 25th of Halo, 20th of Gears, the whole year-long celebration for it that hopefully doesn't have a pandemic in the middle of it again.
hmm,
But that would let you have the CE remake. That would let you put Gears 6 out, or Gears E Day, not Gears 6, Gears E Day out in the first half of the year to let it have its moment after Call of Duty and Grand Theft Auto have had the fall.
hmm,
Gears would have its moment, and then Gears and Fable have their moment, and then we roll into the next generation with returning to the game that started it all with CE.
yep,
So I think it lines up really, really well. Stoked about that. I think that they again like if I'm if I'm reading between the lines, I personally think this is still a fall 26 console, but both Jez and Tom have said, I believe Tom has said it. I know Jez has said that it is targeting 2027.
hmm,
And he says, as of right now, there is no dev kit for it, which makes sense. It just got approved.
hmm,
But that means those dev kits are going to be rolling out in the next couple of months, presumably. So,
Yeah.
because another quote that he had, this was before all the stuff about Canon came out. The whole idea of the next Xbox is it's a PC in essence, but with a TV friendly shell that has a specific set of specs in mind. So devs will be building for Windows PC in a way, but in such a way they know exactly what the specs will be. So maybe the Call of Duty rumor is right, but if it is, Dev Talk Kit is more about what kind of specs they've been told to target. Pretty sure new hardware is not 2026, it's 2027. So I I'm personally on 2026 until they prove me otherwise.
Yeah.
I will not be convinced until we get through next summer and don't have a console reveal. So in like 16 months, I might be wrong.
In 16 months, you might
Yeah.
be wrong.
If we haven't seen it by June of next year, then it's just not happening. I don't think you're going to get another reveal like they did at the Game Awards. That would
No.
be totally asinine to do that again. I think it worked well that one time because nobody expected it, and then the console was such a wet noodle when it came out that they'll never do that again.
Yeah. Plus, like the games they wanted at launch didn't come out, and
Oh
it.
my
Yeah.
god, dude! The fact that they teased a game that didn't even go into production until after the console launched is mind blowing to me. I still can't get over that.
Not a great launch for that console.
Yeah. So I'm not super duper thrilled about that. A little bit more from Jez. Sources indicate internal successor to Series X has been fully greenlit all the way up to Satya. Microsoft's next gen hardware plans include a premium successor to the Series X alongside a gaming handheld and several new controller options. Very excited for the controllers more than anything, if we're being honest.
I wonder. Yeah, I wonder what that. It's got to have the haptic stuff that the
I
PlayStation
think
does, right?
haptics has to be the thing going forward. Haptics and probably like some motion stuff in it
Yeah,
that you can
especially
turn
if you're gonna
on
try to
off.
be like, on PC, and those games
Yeah.
are already kind of accounting for that, accounting for the dual sense now, right? So,
Yep. Yep. I mean, I'm sorry. Like PlayStation has made it. Their controller has become in a lot of ways market standard because they're selling the best. I know a lot of PC gamers still use the Xbox controller. Like pretty much everybody I talk to who plays on PC that uses a
mhm.
controller uses Xbox, but DualSense is slowly creeping up there. I think because of the added functionalities, and if you do that, then that means third parties can really go crazy with the haptic stuff.
Yeah,
That
it's
was always my thing, was like that was why we didn't see widespread adoption of like motion stuff with the Wii. Is well, you had to develop two different games essentially.
yeah, it's
So
actually gonna be really interesting, side tangent, when Forza Horizon comes out on PlayStation, what if it takes advantage of those haptics or not. I think
and
that'll
it's
tell
going
us
to
a
be the
lot.
best. It's already going to be the best place to play it. That's not a PC.
Yeah, I wonder, like, I
So
think I think how that utilizes the DualSense is gonna tell us a lot about their future controller, actually, in a weird way.
yeah, man, it's going to be a busy April for Microsoft because they've got South of Midnight coming. You've got Forza Horizon 5 and Indiana Jones and the Great Circle both coming to PS5.
Mhm.
I'd be really surprised if Forza Horizon 5 does not come to the Switch 2 at some point.
Yeah.
I feel like that's going to be a launch game for it.
I I think it depends on when Mario Kart comes out.
I don't think Microsoft cares. I'm going to be totally honest. This is a brand new audience for them. I don't think they care.
Yeah.
Anything that they sell, that game was profitable in the first 10 minutes of launch. They don't care anymore.
Yeah, that's fair.
Just like go ham with it. Like Hi-Fi Rush is probably going to be a launch title. Sea of Thieves is going to be a launch title. They don't care. Put that shit on there. They're going to be the biggest publisher in the first year on Nintendo's platform.
Mhm.
So I'm more curious to know how they're going to fulfill that Call of Duty obligation.
Something tells me it's going to be collections of old games or remasters of old games
So if you're
or
developing,
Warzone.
if this does meet or get close to Series S specs, you
Mhm.
can do Black Ops 6 on there.
Mhm.
It's just a question of how far can you keep going with that. But if Microsoft is going to be developing for their own handheld, which might have slightly better specs than that, then maybe it's not a problem.
Yeah.
Who knows? But I would be interesting. I do think that like the collections of games, I think you're onto something there. But if you're going to do that, you got to start bringing at least those campaigns to Xbox. That
Mhm.
stuff's got to start hitting Game Pass.
Yeah.
You can't drop that on Switch and not drop it on your own platform.
Yeah. I think actually think a lot of collections and remasters, like the Oblivion remake or remaster that's coming, right? Like,
Yeah, which we're gonna get to here in a minute.
yeah, I think Microsoft actually has a gold mine in terms of collections they could possibly release, but that can be a topic for a different day.
Yeah. So I mean, let's just go ahead and get on into it. The Oblivion remake, man. I feel like we talk about this every show, but it seems like it is imminent now.
Yeah.
Nate the Hate, who broke the rumor originally, came out and talked about it this week, as did VGC. Andy Robinson over at VGC uh, reported that sources have told VGC that the remake can arrive as soon as next month. Uh,
Jeez.
it sounds like it is set for reveal in the coming weeks, probably on the anniversary, which is next week, by the way. Next week is the 19-year anniversary, 19 years of Oblivion.
That's
Nate has
crazy.
said that he has heard it could drop anytime between now and June, essentially. He was originally saying June. Now he's saying he has also heard April or even a shadow drop. I would be fucking floored if this was a shadow drop.
Yeah, but I feel like they want some sort of platform to announce the shadow drop instead of just shadow dropping it, right?
I don't think so. So, from everything that I was reading on this, it is not planned for the Switch 2 as of right now.
Yeah.
I think it's coming, but it is not currently planned for it. I think it probably is in production for it. I'm going to be just upfront. I think it's in production for it, but they're not going to wait until the Switch 2 is out, and they're certainly not going to announce it at the Nintendo event.
Right. I
This,
mean,
this is
I
the
wasn't saying that.
right
I was just saying I wonder if they would have their like a I don't know.
from from what I heard. This was supposed to be announced during the developer direct, and they held it. I think just Microsoft just wants to continually stay in the news.
Yeah.
I really think that's part of what it is. Because I mean, Tony Hawk 3 and 4 got randomly announced through Call of Duty.
Yeah.
But when that announcement came out, they basically got the whole day to themselves.
Yeah.
That was a huge deal. They got a tie-in with Doom the Dark Ages coming with it too. Like that's great. We're gonna get into Tony Hawk after this story, but yeah, the smoke is clear as ever. Like the fire is burning heartily over there. I don't know if this is if this is a shadow drop, I'd be really happy. But I think Microsoft really want. I think an announcement is coming. This being dropped in June or July feels right
Hmm.
because I really think they want South of Midnight to have its day. And if you drop Oblivion now, that's going to take so much attention away.
Oh yeah. No. People are gonna.
It's gonna just I wouldn't say steamroll, but it's gonna take a lot of attention off that game. Plus, you've got if this is gonna come to Xbox, PC, and PS4, PS5. If this is coming to everything, which it is, you also have to remember they're launching Indiana Jones and Forza next month on PlayStation, and they probably don't want to run over those either. They've got a
Hmm.
huge partnership for Expedition 33, and then mid May is Doom.
Hmm.
I would actually love if they would have held this until the summer showcase and been like, "Oh yeah, it's available today in Game Pass."
Which I mean, they still could,
They
right? I mean,
still could. I don't think it's happening, but like a mid-June release feels like it could be great. There's an Elder Scrolls Online Direct happening in a couple weeks. I don't think they show this there because it's two entirely different parts of Bethesda, obviously. And this is being developed by an outside studio at that.
right. What if Elder Scrolls Online introduced Oblivion gates though?
I think they've already done that.
Have they? Oh,
Yeah, I
well.
want to say that they did that at one point.
Well, cool. I had a great idea. You guys can have that one for free. And
I feel like Oblivion would patch a hole that you have in your release schedule, unless you're counting on like Towerborn or Double Fine shadow dropping something in June. That would fill kind of a hole, and that would keep up with their stance of we want something every month for people to be talking about and playing.
yeah,
So that would be kind of big. Summer, there's not a whole lot that comes out in summer. You would be getting away from Elden Ring Night Rain too. You'd be a few weeks removed from that.
yeah. Which you'll want to be removed from that.
You'd be a few weeks removed from that. You'd probably be a few weeks removed from the Switch 2 at that point, assuming the Switch comes out in May or June.
Yeah, the
Which,
rumor right now is May because
man, that's going to be
the
such a short pre order window.
Well, the rumors May because people are saying it's going to come out in May because the Nintendo store in San Francisco is opening on May
I saw
15th.
that.
And I'm like, that's not a reason.
No, it's not. That's fucking stupid. That's people reaching.
Yeah.
So yeah, Oblivion. Hopefully by the next time we do a show, we'll be talking about this. But Nate said today, this afternoon, that quick update on Elder Scrolls Oblivion. As plans stand, both the release and reveal are targeting next month in April. The gap between reveal and release will be minimal. A shadow drop is entirely possible. And he also says, have not heard of a Switch 2 version, and the week of expectation that I've heard does not match. I think it's leaving money on the table to not do a Switch version. We both think they're doing a Switch 2 version.
Yeah.
I'd be very, very, very surprised. But also just
I mean, Skyrim was like one of the biggest launch titles or launch window titles outside of Zelda, right? So like
right.
they would be dumb to do that, but
Also, like, man, Oblivion is also 100% to me the best Elder Scrolls. So
yeah.
I think
You've always
I
said that
think
though.
launching it in April is just a mistake if it happens.
Yeah. You've always said that though.
Yeah, I mean I really the way they have gotten such positive reception on South of Midnight,
Mhm.
just God, do not let this be a situation of stepping on the rakes that you've laid out for yourself. We know you love to do it. Please don't do it this time. I'm actually begging you to not do this, Phil. I'm making an impassioned plea with you to not do it. So,
Oh
of course that
man.
means they're going to turn around and do it. So, moving on to another beloved game coming back, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4, July 11th. The deluxe edition includes the Doomslayer and Revenant skaters. There is a hoverboard, in-game music from the Doom series, and a number of character creator options. This is awesome.
Yeah. Good move.
Good move. Very excited about this. Just nothing else that needs to be said. It's going to come straight to Game Pass, obviously. They revealed some of the soundtrack today, and of course, Motorhead's Ace of Spades, which was the
Title
main
track
song
for
for
3.
number 4, I
Oh, was
believe.
it 4?
I think it was 4. Is in there. Was very happy to see that it's a mixture of classic Tony Hawk tracks and more modern music from the rock and rap genres. So some Denzel Curry in there. Very excited. Uh, yeah, this is great. This is everything I wanted. I am a little bit bummed that there's no free roam in the Tony Hawk 4 levels in this one.
Yeah, I heard people were bummed about that.
I am that's my most vivid memory of 4, honestly.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I have an opinion on that yet. I guess I'll have to see how they do it, honestly, because I mean, if they do it right, it probably won't matter in the long
So they
run.
said
But
the levels are they're gonna be kept intact, but they're just gonna it's just gonna be the classic like Tony Hawk time limit to go complete objectives in there instead of free roam.
right,
And that's fine with me.
I,
That's
I,
totally fine.
I feel like they have to change some of the
They had to make
stuff.
it more uniform across both, from what I understand.
Yeah,
And they're already teasing that they're doing new levels and stuff too. So hey, I'm cool with
yeah,
this.
yeah. Look, man, that Tony Hawk 1 and 2 were so good.
It was so good.
Plus, like,
So fucking good.
I think Iron Galaxy does a pretty good job of porting games. So
Yeah, this is big for Iron Galaxy.
yeah,
So
and they need it, right? So
they need it very badly. Very excited about this though. That is just chef's kiss. That is something I've been waiting for a long time. In other beloved games coming back news, we've got a third one. The Gears collection, again, the fire is burning brightly at this point. Jez came out and said that there is no PvP included in the Gears collection, but there will be co-op.
that's fine.
That's totally fine with me.
Look, I
Um,
mean, look, you want to.
I'm sorry. At this point, all we need it's not like I'm sorry for everyone who likes Gears multiplayer. It's not Halo.
Here's the thing, though: Gears multiplayer hasn't really changed since like 3,
No,
right? I mean,
no, it
so
hasn't.
you can go play. You can go play 5.
Arguably since 2.
Yeah, you can go play 5. Now, I do think they need to include horde mode. I think that would be.
Horde would be something. I think that's a little bit different.
Yeah, I think
You
they
can
need
do
to
like
say
a
co-op
best
though.
of Horde mode.
Yeah, Gears 2 horde mode though. I don't need all that extra stuff 3 added, but whatever. It's cool. I would take the campaigns. I love those games so much. I got in an argument with our pal Ed about those campaigns.
I think
Nintendo
I
Power
think
5.
if you and I think this also gives you a path forward for things like Call of Duty
Mm-hmm.
to just bring over the campaigns. Like, yes, I know people love the classic multiplayer of some of these, but they're so broken
Mm-hmm.
in terms of hackers that I don't think you can do them.
Yeah.
But bringing over the campaigns would at least be something. Do like campaign collections. You can do like a Black Ops collection of the first 3 Black Ops games. You can do the Modern Warfare collection. You can do the side stories collection. I don't fucking know what you would call it. But you can keep some of those modes they started putting in there towards the end. Like you can put the Spec Ops modes in there, the co-op missions. You can put like extraction in there, maybe from Ghosts. I don't know what
Mm-hmm.
else you could put in. Like you could do some of that,
Yeah.
and I think be totally okay. So
Yeah.
I'm fine with this. If I was like 18, I'd be more mad, I think, but I don't fucking have time for this. I
Yeah.
just don't. Also, it's going to come to PS5. So, uh got some information about Halo Infinite this week.
Ooh.
This is a little interesting to me. This comes from Rebs Gaming, who does a lot of Halo content, and they said that 343 Industries, one of their former studio heads, talked to IGN as if they were creating Halo as the start of the next 10 years of Halo Infinite as the start of the next 10 years of Halo instead of releasing new Halo games. Rebs was talking about information from an official Halo Infinite pitch document. And supposedly the main points from this was multiplayer was planned to release a year before the campaign and includes several new large-scale game modes like Tantaka, which is the battle royale that we've talked about extensively, and a Warzone type mode with various vehicles and enemy types. The campaign was planned to be something that grew with yearly DLC, including a DLC titled Atriox's Reign, which would have introduced a warlord system to the campaign. So, to me, when I hear that, that makes me think Nemesis system.
Mm-hmm.
And then the 10-year plan was scrapped due to development issues caused by former leadership and the switch to Unreal 5. That's common knowledge at this point.
Mm-hmm.
I really wish then this is something I saw this on Reddit, like really wish you would just drop the whole fucking document instead of cherry picking for content.
Yeah.
I would really, really, really love to see this. But man, I don't understand, man. I don't fucking understand. And I think this is a classic instance of Phil really should have been on their ass more than letting them just do whatever they wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the failure of Infinite is what has made him get on people's asses a little bit more. Between that, whatever the fuck Rare has been doing for like 8 years now,
Everwild. You know that game.
and Ninja Theory taking like 6 years to make a tech
Well,
demo,
and the Redfall fiasco.
and the Redfall fiasco. Like there's been a slew of things. About the only studio that he's been hands off with that I feel like has been fine is Playground.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, they let Turn 10 do whatever they wanted. Look how Forza Motorsport turned out when it launched. They've let the initiative do whatever they want. Look how many times they've had to restructure that studio and change leadership and things like that. Like that Perfect Dark has been a disaster.
Mm-hmm.
Like I admire the hands-off attitude. You can do that once your studios have delivered some really good games without you having to be hounding them over or you like helping guide them and this and that. This is such a huge investment for y'all, like especially now with Activision in the mix.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of have to.
Yep.
You kind of have to, especially like, and it's not like Tim Schafer can kind of fuck off and do whatever he wants to because he's Tim Schafer. He's gonna deliver you something really weird. It's gonna get a lot of awards. It's gonna get a lot of acclaim. It's not gonna sell well, but you know what you're getting with Tim Schafer.
Yeah, and his Double Fine's not that big of a team either, right?
No, like they're not helming Fable or the next game from Bethesda and this and that. Like I really feel like he has kind of figured out over the last couple of years, like, oh, I can't be as hands off as I would like to be with some of these studios.
Mm-hmm.
I simply can't trust them. Like, and he talked about that with Kind of Funny, right after the Redfall fiasco, saying like I should have been a lot more hands on, but it was kind of this catch 22 of, well, do we cancel this game or do we let it release? Because either way, people are going to be mad at us.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, well, you should have canceled it. It's so easy to say that in hindsight, right? But I genuinely don't know how anybody played that game ever or saw progress on it and was like, yeah, we have to scrap this whole thing. I
Yeah.
really think Redfall turned into one of those like, we just got to release what we have. Like something's better than nothing. Like we always talk about sunk cost fallacies, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's why like we were saying about we said this on the Boss Rush pod with the Wonder Woman game. There's no way it was not cheaper to just release that game, to finish and release that game.
Right.
There's no way it was not cheaper to do that and then close down Monolith.
Right.
But anyway, so that's a little bit more about Halo.
Well, I mean, the reason why you cancel it and then shut it down is so you can write it off, right?
So
That's
fucking
the
stupid. David Zaslav is a cancer, an
yeah.
absolute cancer on this industry and on film, as a matter of fact. So that fuck David Zaslav. That's what I keep coming back to.
He's the guy that got rid of the name HBO, right? Like,
Yep.
one of the most
Yep.
known brands in all of
Maybe one of
television.
like the best respected brands, and now what used to be HBO is running fucking programming featuring the Paul brothers. It's just
Max.
absolutely disgusting. The only good thing that came from them adding stuff into HBO and calling it Max was the fact that I get Food Network as part of it now. It's all I care about is that I get that.
Jeez.
So, all right. We've got a couple more stories here. Tom Henderson reports that Ubisoft's Far Cry extraction-based multiplayer shooter has been rebooted. I did not know that this was a thing. Apparently, they had their own Project Maverick. Was originally intended as a multiplayer component for Far Cry 7 and morphed into its own project in early 2023. But after internal review, the project has been rebooted.
Jeez.
The writing is on the wall for a number of months, and the final nail in the coffin came after its dedicated tech team called Far Cry 7 moved from Maverick to be fully dedicated to Project Blackbird in December to ensure it stays on track. This combined with the report that we saw yesterday about that EA and Microsoft are exploring buying some of Ubisoft's IPs.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think this bodes well for Ubisoft. Like Assassin's Creed Shadow really might be like the nail in the coffin for this company if it's not good.
Yeah, I mean,
If
they
this is
need
not like game of the year level, like it's got to be like Odyssey levels of good.
Yeah.
At this point to
Right.
to kind of save Ubisoft, and even then it's not going to meet their projections because they're as bad as Square Enix is.
Yeah.
In terms of projections, not quality.
Right. I wonder if they have like a bar is like it needs to hit this point for us to even stay.
I would say that selling anything less than like Odyssey or Valhalla, which are probably the two best selling games in the franchise, anything less than that is going to be considered a failure for them.
Yeah.
I don't know if they necessarily need to hit that in order to stay solvent, but holy shit. Like
right.
Ubisoft is in real trouble.
Yeah, it's not great.
If they're contemplating selling off IP, you have to start wondering what they're willing to sell off to. Like when you consider that it's Microsoft and EA who are trying to get in on it, I would expect that they're going. I mean, Assassin's Creed is going down with the ship. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
I would say Assassin's Creed, Tom Clancy, and probably Far Cry are going down with the ship. Anything else, I think anything else is on the table at this point. I would not be shocked to see one of them buy up Watch Dogs. I think Microsoft would pay a stupid amount of money for Prince of Persia.
Yeah, I think Prince of Persia is an easy one.
Prince of Persia, I think Prince of Persia and Rayman are the two big prizes.
I was going to say Microsoft probably wants Rayman so they can stick it with Conquer and Banjo and not do anything with it.
Oh my god, I'd be so fucking mad. There's approximately one company I want to have Rayman, and it is controlled by a Japanese plumber. I don't know. Like Watch Dogs might still have a little value. The problem is like those are the three franchises that actually have value at this point.
Yeah.
I think Microsoft is waiting for the day that they decide that they have to sell off the Tom Clancy rights. When they decide to sell that is when Microsoft and EA are going to get into a bidding war.
Call of Duty versus Tom Clancy is what Microsoft wants.
Microsoft wants Splinter Cell more than anything. And funny enough, they're maybe the only publisher I trust with Splinter Cell, but I don't think they want the other stuff that comes along with it. Like Ghost Recon has so much baggage now.
Yeah.
Rainbow Six is a huge moneymaker. They probably want Rainbow Six.
Yeah.
I think if EA goes out and tries to get Tom Clancy, whether it's now or like 3 years from now, because it's going to happen eventually, that would be them admitting that they're done with Battlefield.
Hmm.
So, but like, I mean, Tom Clancy is still a moneymaker for them, even if they haven't done anything with Splinter Cell in forever. Rainbow Six Siege makes them a ton of money, and the Division is still a valuable IP to them.
Hmm.
You have to wonder if they would sell off the licensing rights for like Avatar, maybe. I don't know how that would work, but maybe they do. But I would expect franchises like Red Steel and For Honor to be sold off too.
God, Red Steel.
I'm just trying to think of like older franchises that they have the rights
No,
to
I
that they might be willing to part with.
I just forgot Red Steel even existed. Man.
Like the crew is one that could be pawned off. I don't think either of those companies is interested in the crew though, to be
No, they already
honest with
have.
you.
I mean, Microsoft already has a successful racing franchise, and EA has like 12
Yeah.
failing
EA
racing
bought a
franchises.
bunch from Codemasters
Right.
when Codemasters closed.
Right.
I just like what else do you do? Does Microsoft try to get like the rights to Gun? Gun hasn't seen a sequel ever. Gun might still be somewhat valuable. The Trials series.
Yeah, that would be a good one.
Trials, I think Microsoft would go ape shit to try and get Trials in house.
Yeah, I mean, you know how many IP you could shove in there?
Not even just that, but
You could
like
do trials with like Master Chief and a Warthog.
those are little games that you could just like put out on Game Pass. Like
Yeah.
that fits their thing of, hey, we want little appetizers in between the big games. Whoever Just Dance needs to go to a VR company. I don't care. Oculus needs to make a move like for that franchise immediately. Because it doesn't work on anything other than like the fucking Wii and VR at this point.
Hmm.
And that is a huge moneymaker if you tap into that correctly.
Hmm.
That's a huge one. I think they still own the rights to Brothers in Arms,
Hmm. Yeah.
but I don't think anybody wants World War
No.
II
Well,
games.
do they? I thought Gearbox owned that.
I don't think Gearbox owns it anymore.
Hmm.
I really wish I could find if. Nope, Ubisoft still owns the rights.
Interesting.
Yep, yep, Ubisoft still owns the rights. Gearbox makes the games, but Ubisoft has the full rights to it. I
Interesting.
imagine that Gearbox would try to buy the rights back, though.
Yeah. Well, I guess it would be Take Two at this point, right?
Oh, yeah, that's true. And I mean, you can't discount Take Two. Take Two would probably swoop in and try to get some of these like trials,
I
especially. I
mean,
would think,
well, I mean,
or
could
Tom
you
Clancy.
imagine Take Two and Rockstar doing a Watch Dogs game correctly? That might be interesting,
I mean,
actually.
we'll see it in like 2045, but
I mean, sure, but
I just imagine like any of 2K, like even giving it to like the Mafia team,
yeah.
like how that could look. I don't know. But that's an interesting thing to think about. Respawn has canceled an unannounced multiplayer FPS game after a year in development. From what I've heard, this was and what I was reading, this was the game that the canceled Star Wars team went to go work on afterwards.
Hmm.
So just God, Respawn has been so horribly mismanaged by EA. Respawn doesn't deserve this. And they're losing creatives left and right
Oh yeah,
because the director of Jedi Survivor is no longer there.
yeah,
He bounced. He did the first two games, and so that's why I was like, I don't know about how I feel about this third one, but I think the gameplay director is now directing the game. So, but that's an interesting little nugget there. Apex, I think, is on its last breath.
yeah,
I know it's still got decent monthly active users, but just nobody has ever seemed happy with that game. I haven't seen anybody happy with it in years.
yeah.
The big announcement of the day: Power Wash Simulator 2 is coming
I
this
know
fall.
it was blowing up in our group chat today.
I'm genuinely very excited for Power Wash Simulator 2. I really liked the first one, and it's kind of like that game of Zen.
Hmm.
So
Yeah,
I do like that it seems like there's going to be proper co-op progress this time around. So that's exciting. I love how many crossovers they did too without it being oppressive.
yeah.
I think they did some really, really neat ones there. So here's hoping it probably won't be on Game Pass because it's sold so stupidly well everywhere else. But it's like the first one of those simulator games that I actually wanted to play.
Yeah.
And of course, the final story, not exactly Xbox related, but we talked a lot about Scopely the last couple of years as a target that Microsoft was looking at one point. Pokemon Go video game maker Niantic has been acquired by Scopely for $3.5 billion,
Jeez.
which means they have now acquired Pokemon Go, Pikmin Bloom, Monster Hunter Now, and I don't know if their Harry Potter games are still going, but basically all these games are exactly the same.
Yeah.
And they have that now. So, uh, by the way, Monopoly Go made like $1 billion in its first year on the market, and that's owned by Scopely.
Yep.
So, if you've wanted to know how nickel and dime and how many pop ups you can possibly get, you're about to find out. So, I love how the first comment on the Reddit post is more like Scopely pays $3.5 billion to acquire millions of people's GPS data and personal walking habits. Which I mean, you can essentially substitute with the Saudi Arabian government. So I just, God, I cannot, I absolutely cannot wait to see these games fail.
Oh, Pokemon
I
Go.
don't know anyone who is still playing Pokemon Go other than my girlfriend.
Uh, People that I work with actually still play it.
I genuinely have not met, other than her, I have not met a single person who still plays that game. I think the last time we seriously played it, or that I seriously played it, was before COVID. COVID
Yeah.
kind of killed it for me.
Yeah.
Not just because you couldn't walk anywhere, but because as soon as they possibly could, they took away any benefit of playing at home.
Right.
You used to be able to do raids, and it was like, oh, this is really nice. And then they took that away. And as soon as they took that away, the game just died. And
Yeah.
they didn't understand why.
Shocking.
Like, announcing partnerships with Major League Baseball is not helping you.
Yeah.
Nobody is going to a baseball game to play Pokemon Go,
Yeah.
other than maybe my girlfriend.
They are going to, I don't know, watch baseball.
Right? I'm paying like $100 to be here. So,
Man.
oh boy.
What a. That's all I can say, Josh, is Anyways.
I think that is. I think that's where we're at for the night. I think we're done. I don't think there's anything else to really talk about.
Yeah. I trying to think. I don't think there is either. I'm
Yeah,
just
I don't really have much else. We're kind of in a holding pattern right now, but the avalanche of games on Game Pass is about to start. We're probably gonna have a different game almost every episode to talk about from now until summer.
yeah.
Like easily between now and summer showcase, we've got at least 3 games that we're gonna have to talk extensively about.
Mhm.
With South of Midnight, Expedition 33, and Doom. If the Oblivion remake drops in there, we've got Oblivion we're going to be talking about. I still really want to have a good conversation about Avowed, but I got to find time to play it.
Yeah.
Monster Hunter derailed me there, and Destiny's new seasonal content has done that to me too. So
It'll do that.
it'll do that, man.
Good
And
stuff will derail you from things that are you know.
I'm skipping AC Shadows. Before anybody asks, I'm not playing Shadows. I'm doing my patented Ubisoft move of waiting until it goes down to half price in 6 weeks. I didn't do it for Outlaws, and I regretted it so much
Yeah.
because the game was unplayable for me when I got to about the 2/3 point. And I've just never gone back to it as a result.
Yeah.
I'm still upset about it.
And that I
So
mean that game is still not cheap either.
it's still janky from what I hear.
Yeah. Still
So
janky and it's not cheap. Like
no,
it never hit that Ubisoft. We're gonna go on sale for 20
it
bucks
actually
after six
has for
months.
now. I think it's like 45% off right now.
Like right
Like
now.
right this minute.
Oh, man, I'll go. I'll check because I did want to play it, but I also wasn't gonna pay $70 for it.
There are parts of that game that are just so good that I love that feel like classic Star Wars. And then like taking away the forced stealth was the best move they could have made for that game, honestly.
Hmm.
I didn't mind it in some parts, but just the checkpoints were so few and far between that you would have to restart like an entire 15-minute section.
Right,
And
which
then
is
God
annoying.
forbid that your game didn't save where it was supposed to. You had to like start the mission all over again. I lost hours of progress like 3 different times, and that just I was done.
Yeah, which it's annoying.
It's very annoying. I don't like it.
Yeah. Well, Josh, nice compact show tonight.
Compact show. There was a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
We got a lot in there. We got next gen hardware to talk about. We got a bunch of classic games seemingly coming back in the next few months and or weeks. But there's a lot there.
Yeah.
There was a lot that went on with this show tonight. So yeah, I think we're good. But the Ubisoft conversations. I keep coming back to Ubisoft. Like it really does feel like if Ubisoft is a domino that falls, the industry is I don't want to say it's going to be worse off, but I never think it's good when big publishers like that get acquired or have to close down.
Yeah. That's
There needs to be a readjustment to the double A market. That's what we've been lacking for a long time. Like I love that Midway Games is being resurrected, but the reality is that should have happened like 10 years ago.
yeah, and it's not, I mean, it's not even going to be the same, right?
No,
Like,
it's going to be Midway and all, but and just name only. But the person who the CEO resurrecting it has said like their goal is to do double A games. You
yeah,
need somebody doing double A games that isn't oh god, Embracer.
Embracer or Devolver Digital or
I don't even think
like
Devolver does double A. I think they just do straight up indies. I wouldn't consider their games double A.
no, but I know, but
In terms of like smaller publishers, yeah.
yeah,
It's like them. You got Team 17 that does a lot of indie publishing.
yeah,
Even indie publishers we've been seeing like close down and sell off their portfolios and whatnot. I'm really excited with the publisher for Expedition 33. We talked about them a lot.
hmm I'm really interested to see what the old Annapurna team does with the private division.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm like,
Kepler. That's who I'm thinking of. Kepler.
yeah,
And Kepler's done pretty much nothing but bangers the last couple years.
yeah,
Well, maybe not bangers, but they're fitting into that double A territory really, really well.
hmm
So they've been on a pretty good run for a few years now. I hope they continue to find success.
yeah,
But I said it when it happened, and I've continued saying it for years. I do not like that Microsoft got a hold of Activision. I thought Bethesda was probably a step too far, but at least there was history there. You can't justify buying this or an EA or a Ubisoft or anything like that.
yeah,
There is no justification for it. So
yeah,
it's not good when a handful of corporations control everything. I will say at least Amazon isn't butting in and buying publishers yet, but I'm sure that's coming at some point.
yeah, because they still want to get into the game stuff,
They
right?
still want to
So
get into it. Them and Apple still really want to get in. Netflix wants to get in, but Netflix has closed down a lot of their stuff too at the same time.
yeah, didn't they close down that AAA studio Joseph Staten was
I
running?
believe so. I believe so. I mean, we're seeing traditional publishers struggle too, though. I mean, like we're saying like Sony has struggled. Sony's done a lot of layoffs.
Yeah,
Microsoft. We've covered Microsoft's layoffs extensively on this show, so I'm curious to see what the correction in the games market goes to. And I really think that in the next 5 years or so, you're going to see a huge correction towards games coming out of China, Japan, and Korea. I think that's really where things are going to start coming from. Like the success of Monster Hunter is not an isolated incident. Yakuza becoming really popular here, not like a dragon now, not an isolated incident. Persona becoming big. Final Fantasy's always been big in the States. Dragon Quest has started getting popular. Like Nintendo obviously has continued to be popular. Like this is not isolated. Those are Japanese games. I think we all forget that. Like Resident Evil is a Japanese franchise.
hmm
Devil May Cry is a Japanese franchise. Like Metal Gear Solid is. Like we're going to see a correction in the market towards that, especially because like America's primary export has always been it's been services and talent
hmm
essentially. And you look at how many publishers are struggling to stay afloat and how many studios are struggling to stay afloat in North America. If development's going to continue in North America, I'm going to be honest, like studios are going to have to start leaving California.
yeah. I
They're going
mean,
to have to leave California and Washington because they just can't afford to be there. But at the same time, those are states that are like actually taking care of their citizens. So it's like we need like billionaire owners have to start understanding what they're dealing with here.
yeah, they
And
gotta,
it's time for actual creatives to be in charge and run the show and not have people like Shuhei Yoshida being pushed out
Yeah.
and not having like the Aaron Greenbergs of the world running things.
Yeah. What a shame for Shuhei. I feel bad for him,
I
man.
feel really bad for him. He is really just like gone just total bluntness since leaving.
Good.
And
mean
I think he should. I really think he should.
dude, he's
He's been
been
so gracious his entire career.
yeah, he's retired. Like, come on. He's got
We
to
were all really surprised when he became um
the indie person.
yeah, when he became the indie person, which like don't get me wrong, like that was a great role for him because I don't know if there's anyone working in like games management that loves games as much as that guy.
Right.
Like Phil might be the only other executive that likes games on that level.
Yeah.
But and I think that seeing the success Shuhei had in those first few months, like mobilizing for the PS4, like before the PS4 launch and then right after it, is part of what got Xbox to go. We have to do ID at Xbox. Chris Charla, you're in charge of this, which has been a
Yeah.
success. I want to be clear: 10 years of ID at Xbox has been a huge success.
Yeah.
They've gotten back to the Xbox Live Arcade game days. Like when I think indies, I think Xbox
Mhm.
or I think Steam. I'm not thinking I'm going to go play these on the Switch. The Switch had like a brief 6 month period there where I was like, I want to go play them on Switch, and then Game Pass
Well,
came along.
the
So
also the thing with the Switch 2 is like the dude,
the
just the sheer
amount
amount of garbage that's on there.
crap. I feel like the Xbox store is a little bit more regulated than both the Sony and Nintendo stores.
Yeah. I
I feel like it's easier to
agree.
find your game on Xbox.
I think I agree with you.
So, but that's another thing for another time, I suppose. Let's get out of here. I'm gonna sit here and wax poetic about Shuhei if we stay here too long.
All right. I want to thank everybody out there for watching and listening to this episode of Xbox Casuals. You can find us every other Friday on your podcast service of choice. Check us out. Leave us a rating and a nice review. You can check out our sister show, Tower Casuals, the Destiny podcast, which is the opposite Thursday or Fridays of this show. Josh, thank you for your time tonight, as always.
Always.
Everyone out there, enjoy your weekend and leave us a fun comment and all kinds of things. And we'll see you next time. Goodbye.